plus 7550 equals 225. We know that doesn't equal, but to use the about symbol, what's 152 plus 7550?
Plus, oh, 227.
$227.50 is almost, that's what that symbol means right there. $225.
Yeah.
It's almost. The equal sign with the squiggly on top, that means it's almost, okay? And all you did was use substitution to check it. Since we were required to round, this will work. You used to see an equal sign here and these two amounts being identical. But this means almost. And because we had to round, this will work, okay? Could I take this and graph it? Yes, I could. Yes, I could. I could have took that and graphed it, which I am. Okay, that's my next step. So y equals 8x plus 7550. Remember that. Excuse me. That. Mark. Now, I solved for x using the equation form. Now I'm going to show you how to do the same thing using the graph and the slope-intercept form equation. And again, this stuff is being recorded, so you can write it down. It still exists. Okay. So if I wanted to take this equation, y equals, something a little darker, y equals 8x plus $75.50. Okay, let's interpret this equation right quick. What is this number called? Think about it, I'm going to graph it. That's my what? It's my b, right? So if I'm doing y equals mx plus b, what do you call the b? The y-intercept. It's also your starting point for when you graph. You're going to graph that first. Okay? What do you call the 8? So there's your slope. So what would my fraction be? Yeah, that means for every one car, my profit goes up $8. Makes sense? Makes sense. Okay? Now, if I wanted to graph that, and some of you are probably saying, well, where would I begin? Well, I always start with my B on 7550, but you're probably thinking, how in the heck am I going to chart that on a graph? Well, your Y values won't be whole numbers. And if they are, this value will probably fall in between 75 and 76. 75.5. You get what I'm saying? Don't worry, I'm going to show you. Okay? But before I get there, I can actually get precise points to plot by making a T-chart first. Okay? Instead of plotting 0, 50, then going up 8 over 1, up 8 over 1, get you some points so you'll know exactly what you're plotting. Put X here and Y here. Start small. Will I have any negative points? Huh? No, they're not losing money. They're not losing money. Okay, think about, we're talking about real life here. Okay, not just slope-intercept form. These are real life situations. So if I put a -2, a -1, a -3 on the X column, it shows me he's washed -3 cars or -2 cars. Can you do that? No. So what's my smallest number going to be? 0. Starting with how many cars? 0. None. You start out with washing none. Then you wash 1. Then you wash 2. Then you wash 3. And you might wash 4. So forth and so on. What am I going to do with those X values? Plug them in for X. Starting with what digit? 0. When I plug 0 in for X, what does Y equal? You ought to be able to do that in your head.
Wait.
8 times 0 is, what are you left with? 75.50. Okay? So when X is 0, Y equals $75.50. Doesn't that make sense? Yeah, that's my Y-intercept. We just said that. Makes a lot of sense. Well, what happens when I plug Y1 in for X? I get what? $83.50. I take my Y-intercept and add $8. And I get what? 83. As Jay Sean said, 83 what? $83.50. Okay. What about if I wash 2 cars? How much money did I make?
$91.56.
So X, the X-axis is measuring what? Number of what?
Number of cars.
Number of cars washed. I heard somebody whispering. Didn't think they were right and you were. Okay? And the X value and the Y value tells us what? So if that's number of cars, profit. Exactly right. Profit. Okay? When I wash 3 cars, how much do we make?
$99.50.
You see a pattern? Dentation. Get it for me. Okay. Do you see a pattern? When I wash 4 cars, how many did they make?
$107.50. $107.50.
Can I graph those points?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you how. We're gonna graph them. Okay. Well, after $75.50, we increase how much each time we wash a car? $8. If you remember when I first taught you or helped you make connections between linear equations and linear functions, one of them we called this the y-intercept. One of them we called it initial value, didn't we?
Yes.
In functions, it's called the initial value. And in slope-intercept form, it's called the y-intercept. But it means the same thing. It's where we start. Initial value means starting point. Okay? Where did we start graphing? 75.50. How do I know? Look at the first point. Does it make sense? So when I graph this, what kind of slope or line should I have? Positive. How do I know? Because every time they wash cars, the profit increases. You just made a generalization. Generalization. As Kanye and Joaquin wash more cars, they make more profit. I talk about the relationship on the x-axis, and then I compare it to the y. Let's go x first. What are we measuring on the x-axis? Number of cars. What's happening? It's going up. As they wash more cars, what happens to the profit? They make more money. That's your generalization. Okay? Can we graph this? Yeah, we can. Check me out. It ain't going to be the best, but watch. Do I have any negative values? No. So I don't need all those other quadrants. I only need quadrant 1. I need my origin because I got something going on 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4. How many x values do I have? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's all I need to account for on the x-axis. But the y-axis is going to be a little different. Okay? I'm going to start, what's my lowest value on the y column? $75.50. Well, since everything is rounded to a half or a whole dollar, I can start here. What if I say, since the lowest is $75.50, well, here's $75. Okay? My highest is 107, so what if I count by 5s? 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100, might even have to stand my graph a little bit, 105, 110. Okay? Won't that work? Now, what's my first point? Let me plot this first. That's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I need to first plot what? 0, 75, 50. Here's 0, here's 75. So 75, 50 is about right there. What about 183, 50? Go over 1. Go up to 8. About 83 would be right there in the middle. Right? Next point. 291, 50. Go over to 2. Go up to about 91. Now, kind of in between it, because 91 is going to be pretty close to 90. Okay? What about 3? 399, 50. So go over to 3. Go up to, that'll be right there at 100. And what about the last one? 4 and 107.50. Go to 4. Go up to 107.50. We made a generalization that said, and we need to label our graph, number of cars washed. That's the x-axis, that's the y, and over here is profit. How much you make? Okay? Look at that. And if I wanted to, I could draw me a little line by connecting the dots. Do you see how we graph that? You see how we can, is this not a real life situation? Could I not picture these guys raising money, washing cars, and go to a Jay-Z concert? You bet your bottom dollar I could. Okay? I could see these two doing that. Could they write an equation to explain their situation? Yeah, that's why I use real life. Because you can. Okay? It helps if you make the T-chart before you go to graph. It helps. Where did my X values come from? I made them up. So if your problem asks you how much would they make if they wash 20 cars? What am I going to plug 20 in for? X or Y? Well, which axis is measuring number of cars washed?
X.
Yeah, so 20 is going to be somewhere down on this column. Okay? Your X's are plugged in or inputted to get your Y's, which is your output. Remember?
Yeah.
Now, what's the domain?
The
What are your X values?
0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
What's your range?
75.5, 83.5.
All those values, and I'm not writing. That's your range. The domain is your X's. What are your X values in your order pairs? Your range is your Y values. What are they in your order pairs? They will not be whole numbers all the time. When you start doing functions in real life situations, most of the time, it'll be a decimal. Now, I want you to get in the habit of generalizing what you see. Because when you start interpreting equations and turning them into equations, interpreting word problems, turning into equations, making T-charts, then graphing them, you must end with a sentence. Generalize what's happening. For someone who cannot look at that and tell me what's going on, you can. You first look at the x-axis. What's going on? I started at 0 and I made it up to 5, so my numbers are getting bigger. What's the relationship between the x values and the y values? Well, I start at 0 and look at my y. That's where it is. Now go to my 1. I'm increasing on the x. Well, what happens on the y? Did they increase? Yes. Well, go to my 2. I'm still increasing on the x. What happened on the y? Still going up. Well, go to my 3. I'm still increasing on the x. What happens on the y? Generalize it. As the boys wash more cars, they make more money. I showed a relationship between the x and the y. That would have been my sentence. As Jakeem and Kanye wash more cars, they make more money. That's simple. Is this really hard? Do you think you understand it a little better now?
Yeah.
Anybody not? You need me to repeat anything? Okay. I did record it. So it is recorded. Go back and look at it.